Yo, what is up, guys? It's Pedro here, and today I got a special guest, Street Scores. Make sure you guys go ahead and check him out. I know you guys are all subscribed. Go ahead and check out his latest videos. Today, we're gonna kind of do a draft recap a little bit, talk about some of our favorite picks, our not so favorite picks, and not necessarily a draft grade, but kind of talking about how we feel about the class as a whole. And since this is my first stream since the draft, so we're gonna talk about that. We'll get into James Bradbury a little bit. We'll get into schedule release, which is, Thursday, some of the leaks that may or not be confirmed, and some of the things that we want to see in this year's schedule. So, Rico, how you doing, man?
Forgot those mic was muted. I'm doing really well, man. Thanks for having me on, man. I always love coming to your show and love talking some football. Always learn something. I'm just excited. We're getting to the point where this is technically when our free agency starts. Ron Rivera and guys love after the draft, so things actually starting to pick up for us. And like you said before we started streaming, can't wait for training camp and all of that stuff.
Yep. Training camp. We got mini camp and OTAs, I think, in the next four-ish weeks, sometime in late May, early June. And then after that, that's when we have like the hiatus, 6 weeks of really nothing. So that's when it's kind of going to be the slow time. But we still got stuff going on in the next few weeks. We got schedule coming up soon. And then they're going to start probably signing a couple players. And we got other stuff as well. What's up, Brian? Appreciate you coming through. Uptown Dre, King Sean, Will, Sway Run 21, another Washington Commander YouTuber. So let's talk about the draft as a whole. 8 total picks, surprised us a little bit in the first round, not necessarily trading, that they didn't surprise us by trading back, but by who they got. I think when it happened, a little bit surprised. So, what were your thoughts when we were sitting there at 11? Who did you want? And then when we traded back from 11, what were kind of your reaction and thoughts at that point?
So you know me, man. Big Kyle Hamilton, big Jameson Williams. He was my wide receiver one. And I wouldn't say by far, but I felt like it was an obvious gap between Jameson Williams and everybody else. So I wasn't willing to take the risk and to miss out on those guys. If both of those guys are gone, I'm willing to trade back. Of course, I wanted Malik Willis, but I already knew we were definitely not taking one at 11, no matter what the circumstance was. I think they prefer to start Taylor Heineke than draft him at 11 overall. So Jameson Williams, Kyle Hamilton, already knew we were going to trade back. So I was hoping that they would still be there after we traded back. Of course, they weren't. But yeah, man, those were my initial thoughts. Kyle Hamilton, Jameson Williams. Next thing I know, we traded back to 16, which wasn't that far. I thought we were going to trade back into the 20s. So I was like, maybe one of those guys will still be there. But again, they weren't by the time we picked again at 16.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't let my number one player in general, like obviously not my number one player in the draft. My number one like realistic player for Washington was Kyle Hamilton. So I really wanted us to take him at 11 because my thoughts were like you can still get a really quality receiver this year in the second. Like if let's say
Agreed.
hypothetically we took Kyle Hamilton at 11, George Pickens was there at 47, I believe. There's other receivers there as well, so they could have done that. But it is what it is. They didn't take Hamilton, and honestly, I am happy that they traded because I really like. I thought Olave was fine, but like I wasn't a huge Olave guy. Like I was not a huge Olave guy at all. So I didn't really see a huge gap. And here's the thing: I kind of watched like 7 or 8 players that I thought were possibilities for Washington, and I watched like 4 or 5 of their games. So it's super annoying when we traded back. I was like, man, I know we're about to draft a player I did not watch. And of course, we did that. Jahan Dotson. And I obviously watched highlights, but I did not watch game tape on him because I didn't think it was a possibility. So I think if I would have watched, I mean, I'm obviously biased right now, but I think if I would have watched Dotson before, I probably would have had him over Olave. I just didn't really like Olave that much. And even if you kind of liked Olave, I think you really can't deny that Dotson, Brian Robinson, who else did they get? Sam Howell and Cole Turner. I think that's better than Chris Olave for sure. Because let's say Dotson ends up being a solid number 2 receiver for you, and then you're gonna. You have 3 other chances of a hit right there versus just Olave. So in my opinion, I rather have that than Olave at 11. But I think like when the pick happened, I wasn't super sad about the pick, but I was more mad, and I wasn't mad about the player. I was more mad that we passed up on Kyle Hamilton at 11, or even Jameson Williams.
No, I can 100 completely agree with everything you said, specifically because we already know the love for Kyle Hamilton between the both of us, but also on top of that, the direct comparison between do you prefer Jahan Dotson, Brian Robinson, Sam Howell, and Cole Turner over Chris Olave? I definitely do, because again, just like you, I wasn't very high on Chris Olave in the first place. I didn't want him at 11. I didn't even really necessarily want him at 16. Like you said, I prefer to take a wide receiver in the second, because there's some guys that's so talented there. You can make an argument that George Pickens could potentially be the best receiver out of this entire draft class. Like, that's possible. You can get him in the second. You take the defensive playmaker in the first. And also, to your point, Jahan Dotson may end up being better than Chris Olave straight up, even ignoring the other value that we got from trading back. Chris Olave and even Jameson Williams, all of those guys had other really good receivers around them and great quarterbacks. Jameson Williams had John Mechie and Bryce Young and a great offensive line that gave him time, and Brian Robinson, who we drafted. Whereas, then Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, CJ Stroud, and a great O-line. The Penn State team was completely devoid of offensive talent outside of Jahan Dotson. Defensive coordinators came into every game like we have to do everything to stop him, and he still found a way to be productive. There was no distraction on the other side. So, and that also gave me the idea that I think that's one trait that Ron Rivera and the guys really wanted. The fact that Drake London was their wide receiver one and Jahan Dotson, they were higher on him than most other teams, and most of us as fans as well, was the fact that they both carry teams.
Yep, totally agree. Let's see what's up, Kurt Smith. Appreciate that. What's up, Will? King Sean will answer the question in a bit. Tim, yep, we need more picks, so that's why I didn't hate the trade back. And when the trade back happened originally, I was kind of happy. I was happy and sad because I thought there would still be a possibility we could take Hamilton at 16. And kind of to add on to your point, like you said, like I tweeted this out, I think the day after the Dotson pick. Like you look at Olave versus Dotson, and this is just production. You can't just base off everything off production. But I think Olave had like 900 something yards, 13 touchdowns. And then Dotson had like 1,200 yards, 13 touchdowns. I think he had 12 receiving and then one either rushing or returning. And he was playing with like Clifford is probably not going to go to the NFL, right? CJ Stroud might be the number one overall pick. So, like, big difference there. And then you look at, not only that, but the receivers that, Ohio State had, Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's probably going to be a top 5 pick next year or this year, would have 100% been the number one, receiver in the draft. And then also Garrett Wilson in that same class or in that same group. That means he's going up against, sometimes he might go up against a number 1 corner, but a lot of the times he's going to be going up against number 2 corner or number 3 corner because he's the third best receiver in that receiving corps. And Jahan Dotson, every single snap is going up against the number 1 or number 2 corner. You can't say that about Chris Olave. That's why I think the Dotson pick was fine, better production. And yeah, he did it with way less talent around him, like you said. And yeah, I really like Dotson. Let's see. DeAndre Taylor, really appreciate the $2 donation. He says, yo, fellas, Vegas has us picking 10th already. Yeah, here's the thing. Vegas, part of it is what their predictions are. But again, part of it is, what they think they can get the most money out of fans. So like the Cowboys, their win total every single year is high. And it's not because Vegas loves them. It's because Vegas knows the Cowboys fans, no matter what it is, if it's 15, they're going to put the over. So Vegas sets it artificially high. They set it at like whatever, 11. This year, I think it's 10.5 because they know every single Cowboys fan is going to be like, that's way too low. And they're going to put it up. Like with Washington, not necessarily. So it's just basically about how much money they think, they can get out of fans. A lot of people really hate Washington. I mean, Washington, not hate, but they know Washington's been bad over the last 30 years. And if they're, casuals, they're just going to be like, you know what? Washington's going to win 6 games this year. And they might think they can get money out of that. So, I mean, part of it, yeah, it is what they think is going to happen. 7.5, it's, not, I think that's the over under total 7.5. I'll take the over on that. But at least I think last year was around the same. So it is what it is. We'll see what happens come game time.
I agree. Those Vegas odds, the main goal is to make money. So, I mean, being right isn't necessarily their primary objective. It's to get the most money. Like you said, Cowboys fans put it as high as possible. They're always going to go over. They're going to miss. Vegas is going to make money from that every year. So, yeah, I think, and we've already talked about this. You've made the points. I've made the points. A lot of us have made the points that if we won 7 games last year, with Taylor Heineke at quarterback, Carson Wentz is an obvious upgrade, and even if he gets hurt, you just go back to Taylor Heineke. So that, at the worst, that's neutral. There's no way we're as hurt as we were last year with COVID-19 and 5th string center, 5th string edge rushers, and we're going from the league's toughest schedule to the league's easiest. Well, I don't think I'm not sure if the Cleveland Browns plus Deshaun Watson is calculated in that, but still, it's going to go from a very difficult schedule to a very easy schedule. Still managed to win 7 games. I think our floor has to be 8.
Yeah, I have a good feeling about this season. And like even and what's up, DMV Sports Zone? And hey, Nachi, happy late birthday. I think it was yesterday. So, happy birthday and hope you had a good one. Make sure, I mean, the Caps did lose, so, and I know you were at the game, so that was kind of rough, but it was a good game nonetheless. So shout out DMV Sports Zone. I think King Sean asked earlier, who do you like better, Olave or Burks? I mean, I didn't really watch much on Burks, so I'll probably take Olave, but I mean, I don't know. It's tough. Let's see. I'm trying to read the questions here. We're not losing less than 7 games. I think so. I agree with everything you said. I mean, we won 7 games last year and again, a lot of our core players are young. So you kind of have to factor that in, like the development of the team, because most of our core guys are pretty young players. I mean, Terry is kind of middle-aged, but in terms of like amount of years he's been in the league, he's pretty young. You got Antonio Gibson, obviously our Jahan Dotson, those rookies and everything. Sam Cosmi on the defense. We got a bunch of young guys: Jamin Davis, Cole Holcomb, Chase Young, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat, Cam Kerr. Like, we got a bunch of our core players that are young guys. So you have to factor that in. But of course, like you said, last year, toughest or top 3 hardest schedule in the NFL. We won 7 games, and we were at one point, and I forgot what week it was, maybe like week 13. We were 6th. We were the 6th seed. So we weren't even the last wild card spot. We were the second to last wild card spot. So like we were in a good position. And then of course everything hits. We have the COVID, we have, injuries, just terrible, terrible situation. We have like the tragedies as well. Like it was just a perfect storm in terms of everything bad happening for us. And, we had and the thing that's so crazy is that we almost made the playoffs. Because if you look at the Eagles game versus the second Eagles game, if Heineke doesn't throw that interception, and if we score on that play, and we win the next week, which we did, and the Eagles lose the next week, which they did, we would have went to the playoffs. And that's crazy to say. Like with everything that happened, we were that close. We were Heineke interception away, and as long as the Eagles result held, which I think they lost by 30 to the Cowboys in the last week of the season, we would have went to the playoffs, which is really, really insane considering everything that happened. And Heineke to Wentz is an upgrade. And I think besides that, our roster is probably kind of neutral in terms of from last year to this year. I mean, we lost some players. We lost Eric Flowers. We lost Brandon Sheriff. I'm trying to think of others. Tim Settle, Landon Collins, some
DeAndre
other guys,
Carter.
DeAndre Carter. But I think we replaced some of those guys, Andrew Norwell, Trey Turner, not as necessarily good as some of those other guys, but I think they're serviceable. And, we're still not done. Like, this is where Ron, likes to shine in this free agency period. So second wave. So I think he's going to sign some more guys, kind of even everything out. And then you add in our additions with the draft. And of course, Carson Wentz. I think our team's better, but more importantly, we're playing a much easier schedule and not having everything happen to us that happened last year.
Yeah, and even back to your point, just like with the Eagles situation at the end, and just so many small margins throughout the season. Like week 1 against the Chargers, we're winning late in the game. Antonio Gibson fumble gives them a touchdown, and we never take the lead back. And then still having a chance to win, we allowed them to convert like 6 third down conversions in the same drive to put the game away. It was just like so many little things that if we just played a little bit better in certain situations, we were a little bit healthier, we would have made the playoffs despite all of that.
Sorry, I was muted. Yep, totally agree. So yeah, now let's move on. I appreciate the donation, DeAndre. Let's move on to second round picks. So I mean, the second round pick, I'm not gonna lie, and I mean I talked about it in the video that I made. Like I was not happy with Big Fedarian Mathis in the second round. I mean, like I somewhat get it. I just think that I mean, and I know he's not gonna just be a depth piece, but I don't like drafting a backup or I guess third defensive tackle in the second round when I don't think it's
Mm-hmm.
necessarily your biggest need. And yes, our defensive line depth was a big need, but it was so avoidable. Like if we just re-signed Tim Settle, our D line depth is still a need, but it's not second round need. So like let's say you sign Tim Settle, then maybe instead of needing a guy, and I don't think we need a guy in the second, but instead of getting a guy in the second, maybe you get a guy in the fourth or fifth round instead of the second or the third, whatever. But second round to me was way too high. And I don't really like people were upset that we took specifically for Darian Mathis. To me, that really isn't the biggest issue because each team has their different evaluations. They have specific things that they like. My biggest issue was with the position that we took, and I know it's a position need, and I know he's going to help out the linebackers. Like I understand the player he is, what he's going to do this for this team. I just didn't see the need for it in the second round, and I thought it was avoidable if you bring back Tim Settle.
I completely agree 100%. It's not necessarily the player. It's definitely more so the position that we took. And just to your point, we created the need just to fill it in the second round. We were replacing 2 fifth-rounders that ended up being great players with a second rounder. And I just feel like we could have attacked that in a similar round. You want a rotational defensive tackle that he's going to play, but he's not there snap one of every game. He's not out there for the majority of snaps every game. It's essentially like in drafting a weak side linebacker in this defense. It's a rotational defensive tackle is not going to be on the field even half the time. So to address that in the second round, especially not to get, I would understand maybe if he had like a high ceiling, like if he was just this athletic freak, you just mold them together. But he's coming with like a high floor, not much of a ceiling. They just really wanted to fill that need, and I guess be done with it and not have to worry about it later on. But I agree. I feel like we could have addressed that fourth round at the earliest.
Yep. And I'm excited to see what he does. And now you really don't need to re-sign Deron Payne. Like you can let him go after this year, and I think it'll be fine. Not ideal, but you can do it. And I don't see the need to trade him right now. Like if you can get a second round pick, great. I just don't think that's gonna happen. So like there's for me, let's say he plays this year, he's gonna get a solid deal. You'll get a third round comp pick unless you make a big signing. So you get a third round comp pick plus a year of him playing and a year of Fedarian Mathis developing under him. So you count that a third round pick plus a year playing or a third round pick and a big hole on that D line. I rather have the first option where you get the third round pick. I mean, it will be a year later and it'll be a little bit later in the draft, but I rather have that than trade him right now, unless you can get like a second round pick or like a third and a fourth or something like that. That's my opinion. Frankie P says Tim Settle wanted playing time and he wasn't going to get that here. That's why I left. Well, here's the thing: if we would have signed Tim Settle, he would have been our third defensive tackle, and that's what he is. I think on the Bills right now. I don't think he's starting. I know he's not starting over at Oliver. and I'm missing someone else. I think he's not over them. So, like, he's going to be getting around the same playing time there that he would have gotten here if we would have kept him. I thought they mishandled that situation so badly because, like, they they knew if they knew they were going to get because they got rid of Matt Inez also at the worst because they free agency was like on a Monday or something. That's when the legal tampering period started. And then they were because they didn't have enough cap space, they released Ioannidis on like a Wednesday or Thursday, which like why are you doing that? Why not? Like it's a lose-lose situation because you release him on Thursday, so it's worse for the player because now it's been a few days of legal tampering period. He's not going to be able to sign with people. And then also, like, you freed up cap space late, and now you missed out on Tim Settle. Like, you knew there's no way they, like, all of a sudden on Thursday were like, okay, we need to release Matt Ioannidis. Like, they probably knew for a while. So if they did, why not release him, let's say Sunday, and then Monday you're like, okay, we don't have Ioannidis. We just have Jonathan Allen and, Deron Payne. That's a big need. Let's go ahead and get Tim Settle for very cheap. I mean, it wasn't like it's like a $6 million a year signing. It was like $4 million, $4.5 million, and that's just on paper. Probably, if you look at the details, it's like way less. So that to me was a big, big mistake for them. Like, if you're gonna cut Ioannidis, do it before free agency so you can really know your cap situation.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like that situation. I mean, just even the way they handled the JD McKissick situation, they just went into the free agency period just not prepared at all. Like, just no type of future vision on what we're trying to do. It seemed like they were just making everything up as they went along. I hated the way free agency started for sure.
Yep, totally. And yeah, I mean, I liked what they did after. I liked that they got Trey Turner. Like that was a steal. I mean, you look at that, and that's where Ron Rivera does his magic, and it's perfect because you get a starting, level guard. He's been pretty solid. Besides the 1 year with the Chargers, like I know what I made the video and I was like, we got to steal, and like someone was like, man, he sucked 2 years ago with the Chargers. I'm like, well, if you look at it, that was like his one really bad year, and that he was playing hurt. He played in like 7 games. He had a groin injury, so like that really affects your level of play. Every other year, he's been like either below average, average, or good. So like, and to get a guy like that, starting level guy for really like 2 million because I think it's 3 million, but like you look at the details, it's less than that. That is a steal because even if he doesn't start for you, he'll be an elite backup and he can play anywhere on the interior of the offensive line. And now, though, he'll likely be your starter and you can move Wes Schweitzer around anywhere. He is so good. I mean, I like him when he plays, but he's such a good guy to have coming off the bench because he can play left guard, center, right guard. So, like, whatever happens, he can go in there. Like, let's say Wes Schweitzer's starting for you and someone goes down. Well, I don't know. Maybe Trey Turner can't go in for center or he can't go in for left guard. So, like, it just gives you more flexibility. So, I love that move by Ron and company. Erickson, that was a solid move because, like, you look at the numbers, and this guy actually was like a pretty good kick returner. Like, he averaged, like, I think a few years ago, 28 yards per kick return, which that's elite numbers right there. So, I mean, you can have him out there. I think he's going to make the team. So, I think they made some good moves there. Got Andrew Norwell, Effie Obada. Am I missing anyone else? I don't think so, right?
Yeah, I believe that's it.
I
All
think
former Panthers.
that's it. I don't think.
Even though Alex doesn't count though, because he's technically a Matt Rule Panther. But yeah, everybody else technically former Panthers, Ron Rivera Panthers.
Yep. So, and I know a lot of people don't hate, love that. And I don't love it, but I don't also hate it at the same time. Like if it's a good player, it is what it is. And Erickson had no effect. I mean, yes, he played for Carolina, but like Ron wasn't there when it happened. So, like this was just last year, 2021. So, kind of talk about Fedarian Mathis, okay pick, not a great pick, not a great pick, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. If he's an elite D tackle, it doesn't matter where what position we pick, because if you pick an elite player, I mean that's a good pick. They just have to hope they hit on the player. Go on to third round, Brian Robinson. I thought we needed running back, and I actually mocked Brian Robinson to us, but I think it was in the fifth round, not the third. So it was, I mean, the thing is though, also when you say we draft him in the third, it's kind of the fourth because it was a comp third pick. So like it's a very, very, very late third round pick. So, I think it's a little early for Brian Robinson, but I think it was a solid pick, position in need, and I think he's going to be an impact player for us, right away. And who knows, maybe he could overtake Gibson. I don't necessarily see that rookie year. Who knows though?
Yeah, I agree. I hope that we use them like how the Falcons used Cordero Patterson with Mike Davis, where technically Mike Davis was like RB1 on the depth chart, but Cordero Patterson got the ball way more, whether it be through passing game, screens, like we saw Antonio Gibson take that 80-yard screen against the Bills for a touchdown. I want Antonio Gibson because it's not like he necessarily just has a severe fumbling problem all game. It's when he gets tired, it's when he gets worn down, he starts to get fatigued, losing his stamina. That's when he gets a little loose with the ball. It's always like toward like in a deep drive, usually, other than the Giants one at the very beginning. Usually it's like deeper into a drive when he tends to fumble. And so I think Brian Robinson's going to help a lot there. Also, I mean, with how much they value Peyton Barber, a lot of us didn't love him, but apparently they did. They were shocked when the Raiders picked him up off of waivers. They thought they would be able to just release him, create a roster spot, and bring him back. And then so when he got taken, they were like, man, we need a bruiser running back. And Brian Robinson's pretty much just an upgrade over Peyton Barber in every way. So if you look at it like that, I'm definitely far more comfortable with the pick. Even though, again, yeah, Brian Robinson or running back at all in the third round was a little too rich for me, but I think we're going to really appreciate this pick when Brian Robinson's getting all of the little yards we need and Antonio Gibson is going for explosive plays because we're using them less often.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I was like, if we take a running back, it's got to be a bruiser, someone like Brian
For
Robinson,
sure.
because I think that's what we needed. And he can come in right away, do the short yardage stuff that we need, some of the red zone stuff. I think Gibson can do that. But like, if he starts fumbling, then your guy from 0 to 20, your own 0 to 20, it's Robinson. And from the 20 on into the red zone, that's your guy. Everything in between, you can have Gibson, but if he's starting to fumble, you can't afford a fumble in those, 0 to 20 and the red zone because, I mean, it kills you. I mean, you either lose 7 points or they score 7 points because of it. And Gibson did that a few times. And I mean, it really didn't happen rookie year, and I'm hoping it was just the injuries that are the reason why it happened. Because it really was an issue first year. We'll see what he does this year, but I'm excited to see what Brian Robinson can do. And if you're drafting a guy in the third round, like he cannot be a guy that's getting 3 to 5 carries a game. Like Brian Robinson needs to be getting, maybe not initially, but at the end of the season, like his average better be like 10 carries a game. Like his, you can't draft the guy that early and have him just be a short yardage back because you can find that on the streets. Like you can, or find that late in the draft, or even have Gibson do that because that's just not something you take in the third round. So he's going to be a good pass blocker. Picking up those blitzes in terms of like he can do that on third downs. He's an all right pass catcher. And yeah, maybe you can use him a little, you can use Gibson a little bit more in the pass catching game, a little more like Deebo Samuel. I've heard some people say you could do that and have Brian Robinson as your true back. I don't know. I mean, I'm really interested to see what they could do because they've got a really solid running back core with Gibson, McKissick, and Brian Robinson. So, and I mean, I think McKissick was a 2-year deal, but maybe you could, if Brian Robinson really is a baller, you could have, him and Gibson as your 1-2 punch and transition Gibson into more of a pass catching. I mean, there's so many things they can do with this trio. I'm just really, really intrigued to see what they do once, football starts.
I agree. I'm excited too, man. I can't wait to see how they use them because, like Zach said in the comments, you can see like a Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara situation. There's so many ways you can look at it to where both guys can be happy, both guys can excel, be happy, and it can all work out for sure. I mean, and then when we brought back J.D. McKissick, or even when we first lost him, people try to legitimize it by saying he doesn't really do much checkdowns anyway. But I feel like J.D. McKissic will still be heavily involved. Nowhere near as much as what he was for Alex Smith and maybe not even Taylor Heineke level. But I think his role will take somewhat of a back seat, especially with Curtis Samuel coming back healthy, supposedly.
Yep. What's up? Let's see. Uptown Dre says, yeah, we'll talk about him in a second. Make sure while you guys are in here, go ahead and check out Rico's channel. Already put it in the description. I'm gonna put it in the chat as well. Great YouTuber. Already put he already put a video out about the schedule stuff, putting out draft content. Great draft content, and I'm sure he's gonna be doing the draft breakdowns pretty soon as well. So make sure you guys go ahead and check them out. Also, go ahead and sub up to me. Trying to get to 8,000 subscribers right there. And yeah, hit the like button on the stream. So, let's get into Percy Butler. So I'm not gonna lie, when I heard his name, I knew nothing about him. Like I knew nothing about him. So I was kind of like, okay, let's dig into this guy. Something about him is just extremely intriguing to me. Like I feel like he could be a big sleeper. Like he could be a guy that, we didn't really know on draft night, but he could be a really good pick for us in a few years. I mean, even just watching the special teams highlights, it's like this guy's got speed, he's got explosiveness, like he can really hit you really hard. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe he plays Buffalo nickel for you, maybe he's your starting free safety, like because one thing also that we don't really have right now is a slot corner. So, what you could do if, let's say, Percy Butler is balling out in camp, what you could do, move McCain into slot and then have Percy Butler as your free safety. That is what you really could do. And that's what, having all these DBs there that are versatile really help you out, makes you, be able to do a lot of things. Because you look at their secondary, you know, Fuller is versatile. He can play on the slot if you need him to. Not as good in the slot though in the last couple of years. William Jackson, Benjamin St. Juste, those guys aren't versatile. Those guys are outside corner. But you look at By McCann, can play free safety, can play in the slot. You look at Cam Curl, can play Buffalo nickel, free safety, strong safety, and they've got some versatile guys. And Percy Butler can probably play free safety, strong safety, or Buffalo nickel if you need him to. So like there's versatility there, and ideally he could be your starting free safety with Bobby McCann in the slot. And let's see, appreciate that, Justin. Really means a lot. Let's see. BH says Butler is going to be a star. So what do you think about Percy Butler? Do you like the pick? And, what do you think he could add to the team?
Definitely once we took him, again, like you, I didn't know like a lot, like I didn't watch a lot of film on him. I just heard a lot about him through different podcasts, and then I looked him up a little bit after hearing him on a podcast. So like I didn't watch film on him up to that point, but I kind of knew about him. I knew he was rangy, knew he was a little versatile. So at that point, that was the first ceiling pick we made. So that alone made me happy. I'm a ceiling guy. And so we were playing it safe with the first three picks. You can kind of say we were reaching a little, and we were going for high floor guys that don't necessarily have the craziest ceilings. Percy Butler was yes, hey, I agree. Make sure y'all definitely subscribe to my boy Pedro if you're coming through me, man, for sure. You would not be disappointed. But Percy Butler, man, was our first ceiling pick, so I was really excited about that just alone. But then you see shortly after we pick him, and this is one of the guys that I've heard talk about him on a podcast, Chris Sims basically said, like, and he's right about a lot of things. Like the national media will have this general big board of quarterbacks, receivers, corners, whatever. He'll have like a complete opposite, and he ends up usually being right most of the time. And so I usually believe what he says. And he said that Percy Butler is the best pure free safety in the draft. We're talking about range, all of that, and he can also cover it. So from a trait standpoint, he compares very favorably to Daxton Hill, who I was willing to spend a top 20 pick on. So if you get potential baby Daxton Hill in the 4th round, I think that's arguably our best pick of the draft. Definitely up there. It's 2 or 3 in contention for sure.
Yeah, I mean, No, sorry, my thing's glitching out. I couldn't hear, but all good. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I'm really intrigued by Percy Butler, And yeah, I saw Chris Sims tweet it out, and then I went back and watched like the 10-minute clip from his podcast where he was doing the rankings. And yeah, I think he's definitely intriguing. And the tackling might be a little bit of an issue. Like that was kind of the knock on him, but like those are things you can fix up. Like he's super aggressive. Definitely like him. Let's see. Peter, you
I
was
mean,
talking
even to
about like
compare him to, say he's Trey Boston with a little less man coverage. I mean, with man coverage additionally to it. Remember how much well, I'm not sure about you necessarily, but like really wanted Trey Boston when he was available in free agency, and how he played so much better for Rivera than any other place he's ever played for. After Rivera left, he kind of fell off as well. If you basically have Trey Boston with some man coverage in him, I think that's an excellent pick in the 4th round, just even if he's not Daxton Hill.
Yeah, and some guy with a little more juice too. He's got more athleticism to him. And let's see. Yep, DeAndre. I like the draft. I don't love it, but I'm definitely warming up to it, especially Jahan Dotson. I like the pick a lot. I like the Cole Turner pick, Percy Butler, and a couple others that we'll talk about in a second. So one thing I wanted to, so someone talked about like they have a new content thing, Command Center. I didn't watch it. I saw the title and I think it was on the YouTube channel. I was kind of excited to watch it, but then I love Logan Paulson. Like his breakdowns are great and everything. Like whenever he's on Kime, I always listen to it. But when I saw the title, I kind of thought, how like some of the teams, I know the Panthers did it last year, the Broncos did it. Like they kind of gave you a behind the scenes of, their free agency process and the draft process, like what it looked like in the draft room when everything was happening. Even though it wasn't my team, I loved watching that. And when I saw that title, I was like, okay, I'm thinking it's going to be this. And I was excited. So I hope they do something like that in the future. The only thing though is like I don't see Ron or Martin Mayhew wanting to like show everything. You know what I'm saying? Like even if it has no effect, like I don't think those guys are going to be wanting to show their free agency and draft process. But I think that like that thing that other teams do is really really cool. Appreciate that, David. But yeah, I agree with you guys for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really excited about it. I haven't checked it out yet either, but if it can be anything even kind of close to Hard Knocks, I'm excited. But like you said, there's going to be reservations. I don't see Ron Rivera and Martin Mayhew, like you said, dropping all of the jewels of what happened. Because even just the trade back scenario, we're going back to the Saints, and then the report, and then Martin Mayhew saying that we could have traded back again. Now, what if us as fans find out that you could have traded back to say like 19 or 20 and got another pick and still could have gotten Jahan Dotson? That helps them in no way for us to know that information. So I don't know. Even if they do it, maybe it'll be a little nerfed compared to the other teams, like you said, like the Broncos that like went fully in depth with theirs.
Yeah, I agree. EJ, okay, I'll say this. I wasn't like, I mean, I was definitely wasn't on suicide watch after day one pick. I think I gave it like my initial reaction was like a B minus B grade. So like it wasn't like I hated the pick. My thing was I was just like I really wanted Kyle Hamilton. I was just really sad. Like I was just super sad that we didn't get Hamilton because he's on the board. So that was kind of what I was more upset about. Like I still was okay with the pick. I was more super sad that we didn't have Hamilton because I was really because he also idolized Sean Taylor. I mean, I know a lot of guys do, but like that was gonna man, I really wanted to see him in the burgundy and gold. It is what it is. I know Juan was the one who's a little bit more upset than me, and I think Ed, who came on later, he liked the pick more than both of us. I warmed up a little bit, but here's the thing: I learned a little bit. I don't want to talk myself into picks too much because I did it last year with Jamin Davis because my initial reaction when the pick happened, I fell to the floor. I fell to the floor. I was like, and honestly, kind of the same thing that happened this year because I really wanted Jeremiah Wusu-Koramoah. Like I really wanted him or Christian Darrisaw, either one of those two. Both of them were on the board. So I was like, okay, I'm okay with Jamin Davis, but give me Jeremiah Wusu-Koramoah. We didn't take him, and like Jamin Davis is okay. When like after I was like, he's okay, but I really want Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. And then all the quotes come out, and you start to learn more about him, and you're like, okay, I like him more. And that's kind of the same thing that's been happening with Dotson. But the Dotson pick, I just really didn't know how to feel at the point. Like if you go back and watch live, EJ, I literally said when the pick happened, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. I said that 6 times in a row. I think I counted that. I just didn't know how to feel about it. But I was, whatever. I think I gave it a B minus. Right now, I'd probably give it like a B plus grade. Not amazing. Like the pick was a B plus, but like if you count everything they got back into it, it was better. They reached a little bit, but it won't matter if he ends up being a good player. So we went to 4th-round picks. So now we're into the 2 5th-round picks. So Sam Howell, I mean, I don't think anyone can disagree. Like we got really good value in the 5th round with Sam Howell. Projected to go late 1st, 2nd round. Got him in the 5th. Like even if he turns out to be a you know a really high end backup, then it's a good pick. Like it's a good pick. Getting a good backup in the 5th round is a good pick. So I think that was solid. And he has some upside, not really like top 5, top 10 QB in the league upside, but he has some starting potential. Probably low tier to mid tier starting potential. I know some people think he can be a star quarterback. I don't see it, but who knows? Maybe he can, maybe he can. But like I think it was a solid pick, and I really don't think it, affects Wentz. And the thing is, we might need a new backup quarterback after this year because Heineke is gonna be a free agent. So it was a really good pick in my opinion. What's up, Juan Gotti? Appreciate you coming through. Of course, make sure you guys go ahead and check him out. We both went live for the draft together. That was really, really fun.
That live was dope, first of all. And secondly, I agree that Sam Howell is just like you kind of can't miss with where we got him in the 5th round. I also agree with you. I mean, I was a Malik Willis guy. I feel like Sam Howell does have a relatively high ceiling, but I do agree that I think even at his very best, if everything works out, I don't think he's Josh Allen or Pat Mahomes or none of those guys. He's not the elite guys as far as potential goes, in my opinion. But I do think he has a high enough ceiling to be a really good quarterback and a potential Super Bowl winning quarterback, especially if he gets that good within his rookie contract. We'll see what happens with Carson Wentz. But yeah, I think in the 5th round, that's excellent value. I mean, going into the 2021 season, people thought he may go number 1 overall in the 2022 draft. And then he lost all of his weapons, including De'Ami Brown, who he's been reunited with. He lost the top 2 running backs, his top 2 receivers. And in result, the offense was so bad, he had to become a runner. He didn't want to, people consider him a running quarterback, but it's not like that's what he necessarily prefers to do. It's just that the offense was so bad. He was like, somebody's got to run the ball. And so he just took it into his own hands and adjusted his game to it. So I respect him for that. And yeah, I mean, again, general theme, you can't miss that pick with the 5th round.
Yep, good value, solid player, and seems like he'll fit in very well with Carson Wentz. So I think so. Moving on, 2nd, 5th round pick, Cole Turner. I think it's a solid pick. Like not an amazing pick, but he is the tight end I think we needed because he kind of checks all the boxes. Not in terms of what you need in a tight end, but I think what we needed, a big guy and a pass catching guy with good hands. That's what we needed because like yes, of course, you would like to have a guy that can block too, but you're not going to get a good pass catcher, good blocker, 6'7" guy in the 5th round. You're not going to get that guy. That guy's going to be in the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round. So we already have John Bates, who's a great blocker. Sammis Reyes, if he makes the roster, he's a pretty good blocker. So, and Logan Thomas is fine when he's playing, he's going to be fine. We didn't have that freak 6'7" guy who is strictly a pass catcher. And Cole Turner is that guy. He's strictly going to be a pass catcher for you. 6'7", and didn't watch the film yet, but you watch the highlights. I watched like 10 minutes of highlights. Every single catch he made, he goes down right away, or he gets tackled, or is out of bounds right away. Like his yards after catch might be like 2, like his average yards after catch, which is insane. Like he offers nothing in terms of yards after catch, but hey, like if you can catch it, whatever happens, I'm good with that. And he looked like he was making some really, really tough catches, which is of course what you want in a tight end. He's 6'7". Carson Wentz like those big body receivers slash tight ends. So he's that guy. And I think Ron Rivera's been raving about him. He made a couple nice catches as well. So I think he has a chance to make an impact. We'll see if Logan Thomas is out, because if he is, and I think Cole Turner has a chance to make even bigger impact than he would if Logan Thomas starts the season healthy. And what's up, Jay? Appreciate that.
And yeah, I completely agree. I mean, for the whole yards after catch thing, only reason I'm not worried is because I usually say like, especially for big body receivers, you don't need yards after catch if you're catching the ball in the end zone. That's basically what he's going to be. He's going to be a possession receiver, a red zone threat early on, but he does have some upside that maybe once he works on his route running, maybe he'll be able to separate a little bit on his own in the passing game. I feel like the yards after the catch guy right now is John Bates. We saw even in that blowout against the Cowboys, him running people over. He's like he was the only guy out there still playing with heart. So John Bates can't necessarily separate that well, and he's not as great of a pass catcher as Cole Turner. But I think them two on the field, you're getting enough from either of those guys in different situations. You got the blocker, you got the pass catcher, you got the yards after catch guy kind of in John Bates. Not necessarily a fast yards after catch or agility, but more so run people over for a couple of more yards. And I think we'll work with Cole Turner to get him to become a better blocker. I don't think he's going to be as abysmal at it as Jordan Reed and Vernon Davis were. As much as I really appreciated those guys were literally, they couldn't even get in people's ways. At least Cole Turner is huge. He should at least be able to get in somebody's way, even if he can't push them forward. And that may be just enough to for us to do what we need to do.
Yeah, I agree. And it sucks that Pete Hainer, retired, because he would have been nice having him develop Cole Turner. But solid pick. Now you go into the 7th round. We won't go into too much detail about those guys, but I think two positions of need. I think there were solid picks. Christian Holmes out of Oklahoma State. Never have enough corners. Everyone says that. Need some more depth. We don't have great corner, depth. So that's good right there. Some people say he can play safety too. So we'll see about that. Interesting player for sure. And Chris Paul, great personality, interesting personality for sure. Has great, I think, off the field stuff as well. I forgot what it was, but a bunch of things going for him off the field. He's a musician too, and position E, we kind of needed a guard, and we filled that hole with Trey Turner, but still having a young guy, because like Trey Turner is like a 1-2 year guy, so who knows? Maybe he could turn out to be a Charles Leno, where we sign him for 1 and then extend him for 3. But more likely than not, Trey Turner will be a short-term answer. So, Chris Paul likely won't be a long-term answer, but he could be if you develop him properly. And we have John Matsko. That's why, I wouldn't have hated if we drafted a guy in the 3rd or 4th round at the guard position, just because we have Matsko and we got to take advantage of that before he retires.
He's our best coach.
Yeah, exactly. He's our best coach. He can develop these guys. It doesn't matter who it is. It can be a bum, and he'll have him there as a capable starter. That's how good he is. And yeah, so I mean, Chris Paul, he's gonna have at least a year under John Matsko, because the thing is, John Matsko, I think he's 2 or 3 years older than Pete Hainer. So I don't think Matsko is gonna be coaching for too much longer. So we got to take advantage of him, while we can. So hopefully the O-line coach under him, I think we have an assistant one, is learning everything from John Matsko that he can. To continue developing these guys. But any quick thoughts on those 2 7th round picks before we get into our overall thoughts on the draft?
I mean, first of all, you pretty much said it all. But to add to the Chris Paul situation, I think him and his counterpart, Tyler Smith, that was taken in the 1st round. I don't think there's that large of a gap where it's Tyler Smith going in the 1st, Chris Paul going into the 7th. So, it's too early to say, but I think Chris Paul in the 7th will end up being great value, because I don't think it's that large of a gap between the two, one in the 1st, one in the 7th. And you can argue some games Tyler Smith actually played very well in comparison. So I think that's great value. And Christian Holmes just goes along with pretty much the theme of the whole draft. Outside of Sam Howell, we just drafted a whole bunch of seniors, a whole bunch of relatively high floor guys, positional guys. He's also mainly a zone cover corner, which is what Jack Del Rio likes to run. So they got a mature guy, senior, that when in doubt, if there's a severe injury, he can maybe step in and play some zone for you in Jack Del Rio's defense.
Yep, for sure. So now on to overall thoughts on the draft, because I saw some people talking about us not taking linebacker or a DB earlier, and I honestly agree with about the linebacker. Like we needed another linebacker. We probably needed 2 or 3. We didn't get a single one in the draft, so like I would have liked Leo Chenal maybe, Chad Muma. I would have loved him. Instead of Fedarian Mathis, like I forgot if Chad Muma was on the board. I think he was, but like
I
taking a
believe he
linebacker
was.
at 47, like if you could have taken a linebacker at 47, then maybe a D tackle in the third, and then a running back in the fourth or fifth, that would have been the perfect scenario because
Agreed.
we still have a big hole at linebacker, and Cole Holcomb, I like him. Like I think he's the only proven commodity on this team. Like with Cole Holcomb, he's going to be at the minimum an average linebacker, and he's probably going to be a good linebacker for you. Wherever he plays, probably better suited for the outside. So you have 2 outside linebackers in Jamin Davis, Cole Holcomb. You have David Mayo right now as your starting middle linebacker. I don't even want to see David Mayo as a backup. Like, I'll be okay if David Mayo's a backup, but no, do not have him on the field as a starting linebacker. And we need to get someone. Alexander Johnson, he's a guy. Quan Alexander, even AJ Klein, who's a former Carolina Panther, like he's a significant upgrade over David Mayo. And here's the thing: I see people saying this all the time. We only use 2 linebackers most of the time, and that is somewhat. I mean, that is true, but you know why it's true? Because we don't have any linebackers. We don't have any, and part of it is our system. Like part of it, yes, we use a little bit less than usual, but also it's because we have no linebackers. Like the last couple years, our linebackers have been a rookie Jamin Davis who's playing out of position, Cole Holcomb who is good, David Mayo, John Bostic, guys. Like that is a not even like a backup linebackers besides Cole Holcomb. So like that's why they're playing 2 linebackers because not only that, but they have their best players on the D line, so they're playing 5 in the front and then 2 linebackers. So yeah, it's like partly true, yes, but a lot of it is because they don't have good linebackers.
I agree. Yeah, it's literally great, like you said, granted, part of the system, they do want to bring in an extra D lineman or an extra safety a lot of the time. But really, even if they wanted to run 3 linebackers, we just couldn't. That wouldn't be your best combination of 11 guys on the field at one time, ever. No matter what the circumstance was, if we put out 3 of the linebackers we had last year out there. So, yeah, I completely agree. It goes both ways. It's part of the system, but there's definitely a reason that, like, we ran it like at like a league low for teams that technically run a 4-3 defense.
Yeah, I totally agree. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, do you have any besides the names I listed, any linebackers that you would like us to go after, even like specifically like one guy that you really like, even if I already named him?
Oh yeah, AJ Johnson is my guy. He played a little hurt last year. Technically a different system under Vic Fangio, but bring him in and figure it out. He's probably going for very cheap because he never really was good in his career until this last season. And again, he got hurt. So he's probably not even asking for a lot of money. Of course, you also have Donta Hightower, who very injury prone, but I mean, he's 33 years old, I believe. If you can even just get 80% of what he was back in like 2018, that's a big upgrade over anything we have. And I just feel like, I mean, he missed the COVID-19 season because he was one of the people that held out. He came back and hasn't been able to get right since. If we can get him right, I think he's solid, but, also for a very cheap deal as well. But I think it's between Quan Alexander and AJ Johnson as far as ceilings go that I would take a risk on. But Quan Alexander, probably the most hurt out of all of the guys I've just mentioned.
Yeah, I agree. He has a potential, but wait, AJ Johnson, is Alexander Johnson, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, he is.
Okay, yeah. Just making sure. Yeah, he's my guy. Like even going into free agency, Alexander Johnson was like the number 1 guy I wanted. So he's still
Yes.
there. I don't know why he's still there. Like I think I heard something about like some off the field thing that's like still being resolved. I didn't like there wasn't like a
Oh, I didn't
national
hear
guy
that.
reporting it. That's just something I think I saw somewhere. Maybe that I don't know. I honestly don't know because I really like Alexander Johnson and he's great run stuffer. His missed tackling percentage is like very, very good. Like I think it's like 5% or something. Really, really good there. And he was actually only 7 games, but he was pretty solid in coverage last year. So I like Alexander Johnson, and if you can get him for like 5 million, less, and I think at this point it'll probably be that. I would like that. What's up, Cut Bandit? What's up, Queen Sheen? Let's see. Yeah, DB help. We kind of need a little bit more. I think slot cornerbacks probably like Callahan. I don't know if he's been signed. He would be a solid guy. Chris Harris would be another guy because he played under Del Rio, pretty cheap as well. Veteran guy who's still solid. He would be an option. What do you think?
Yeah, those are definitely the smarter, cheaper options. Of course, I mean, we're going to probably get into James Bradbury soon. If you can somehow get him for extremely cheap, do it. But I just don't. I don't want him to get in the way of signing Terry McLaurin long term at all. Like it, and I highly doubt he comes here for very cheap. I highly doubt it. So I just think that situation is pretty much a done deal. So yeah, man, if we can get a nice veteran option, probably out of the guys, I'd probably take Callahan the most right now as far as talent and how much they may cost. I feel like James Bradbury is clearly the best corner available in free agency, but he's gonna ask for way more money than everybody else. I think Bill Callahan is that perfect middle of value and talent.
Yep, totally agree. And what's up, Door Gunner? Appreciate you coming through. And yes, James Bradbury, thank you for bringing that up. We have so just talking about that a little bit. A lot of Washington fans want him, and this is going to be the one Carolina guy that they do not sign, that everyone wants him to sign. And I said this in the video yesterday. I'm okay with whatever they do. If they sign him, I'll be excited. If they don't, I'll be fine with it because like he is a good player, but you got your biggest hole in your second year right now probably is slot cornerback, and you have three outside. Your top three corners are outside guys in Benjamin St. Juste, Kendall Fuller, William Jackson third. And I know some people are gonna be like, "Hey, switch Kendall Fuller to the slot." Well, you look at it. Kendall Fuller in the slot last year was not good. Our defense was not good when he was in the slot, and that it's not just him. It was Landon Collins playing out of position, Cam Crow playing out of position, and not playing much other things as well. But those are my thoughts on it. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree because I mean, technically last year our best slot corner was Danny Johnson. He wasn't like amazing, but like everybody else, like you said, are basically outside corners. And Kendall Fuller, before he went to the Chiefs, I definitely felt like he was an elite slot corner. But since coming back here, he did look better on the outside. And then he's also versatile enough. You may want to use him in a little bit of safety to confuse opposing offenses. So it would be nice if we could find a way to get a slot corner more so than another outside corner. And I believe between Kendall Fuller and William Jackson, those two combined, we're like one of only 5 teams spending like $25 million on 2 corners right now or something like that. So it would just only get worse if you go get a James Bradbury, because I highly doubt he's going to take a cheap contract. There's been reports that other teams had trade packages ready for him, and the Giants were willing to accept them, but James Bradbury didn't like the money that those teams were offering after they would trade for him. So it sounds like the price is really high, and I highly doubt we're trying to meet that price unless he comes to us for a team discount because of Ron Rivera. We have his assistant secondary coach here. You can argue, even though he was really good for the Giants, his best years were in Carolina. So maybe he'll take a cheaper deal because of that, but I definitely doubt it.
Yeah, I don't, and I think Kime even said on his podcast today he doesn't see it really as a possibility because we're not going to pay much. We don't have the money that he wants, and we're going to still have to spend money on a rookie class, and then Terry is probably what's going to happen, and even like if they still want to get Deron Payne done or Cole Holcomb as well, so they're trying to save the money, and I kind of understand it. And they still have holes to fill. They still have holes to fill. And what's up, Jairus Corner? Make sure you guys go ahead and check him out on YouTube. Super fun guy. Make sure you guys go ahead and check out his content. So I mean, Bradbury, whatever they do, I'm fine with it. Honestly, like it's just going to be tough to fit everything in there because if you sign him, I guess you move Fuller to the slot. Like, I mean, what would you do? Would you move him to safe? Like, it's tough because Bradbury is not. He is a strictly outside corner. William Jackson strictly outside corner. Benjamin St-Juste strictly outside corner. So if you signed James Bradbury, it's gonna be four pretty much strictly outside corners. I mean, Kendall Fuller can play in the slot, but he's better on the outside, and I appreciate that, Craig.
Yeah, I agree. It's just we don't as much as we preach positional flex, and we have a lot everywhere, especially in the secondary as far as safeties go. But our outside corners are just straight up outside corners, and that's it. That's literally why Danny Johnson became basically our starting slot corner in a certain point. Again, he's not even that great of a corner, but he was better than really anything else we had with Benjamin St-Juste dealing with the concussion. And I think he projects favorably as an outside corner as well. Kendall Fuller, I think at this point, he's probably a better safety than a slot corner, but we have so many safeties. I don't even necessarily see him doing that. So it's just it's weird trying to fit that puzzle piece in there for sure, especially for the money that he's probably asking for.
Yeah, I agree for sure. So what do you think? So we kind of touched on the draft, overall. I mean, what are your quick overall thoughts before we get into schedule on our draft class? Yeah.
I just think the overall strategy was to play it safe. We want to build on the 7 wins we got last year, probably get 8, 9, or 10, and become like a 5th, 6th, or 7th seed, maybe win a playoff game. They didn't take risk in the draft to try to get those home run hitters like the Kyle Hamiltons that probably transforms your defense enough that you can probably argue you were a Super Bowl contender. No, they played it safe. And they're just trying to go baby step by baby step. Maybe we're a Super Bowl contender within like the next 3-5 years. So I see the strategy. I don't agree with it, but I see it. And so I can't hate it too much because there's logic there. It's just not my logic. So, and I'm fine. I mean, I'm really excited about Percy Butler. I think John Dotson's going to prove quite a bit of people wrong because he may just end up being better than Chris Olave, period. And I'm excited to see what Sam Howell ends up becoming.
Yep, I think overall solid draft class. Like that's the thing. Like when you play it safe, you kind of know you're gonna have a pretty high floor with your class, but not a high ceiling. And I don't know if that's the best strategy. I mean, maybe it is for this year because they want to win right away. But I'm kind of like you. I kind of like some higher ceiling players, and I guess at least they did that with Percy Butler. He's kind of got a high ceiling. And then you look at Sam Howell. He's kind of got a high ceiling. Some other guys do as well, but I don't know. I think that, overall solid class. Overall solid class because I like what they did in the first round in terms of getting assets back. And I think they could have even what I think ideal strategy would have been you trade back from 11 to 16. And hey, if Kyle Hamilton's there, you take him. He wasn't. So then you trade back again. They said they had offers. So you trade back more assets. And what you do, either if you trade back wherever you are, Jahan Dotson's still there, take him. If he's not, you take Daxton Hill and then then you get a receiver with your second round pick. And that's kind of what I was thinking. Maybe they were going to take Daxton Hill with 16. I think that was a little too early, but if they traded back again, I'd have loved Daxton Hill or Jahan Dotson. But you get even more picks on top of that. That would have been like best case scenario, but because then they probably would have been able to get a linebacker on top of that. But overall, solid class. Don't love it, but definitely don't hate it. And I think they got some really quality, pieces and some guys that definitely will help out the team right away for us.
I also like a couple of undrafted free agents, like Armani Rogers. I'm really excited about him. I mocked him to us. I was hoping we can grab him in the 7th, and then we got him as an undrafted free agent, even better. And I just really hope he makes the team because to me, he's basically like another Jordan Mailata. He was another guy mocked to us, then the Eagles ended up getting him. Now he's a franchise tackle for the Eagles, one of their best offensive linemen. I have the same feeling with Armani Rogers either a small tight end or a big receiver. I think he has a Chase Claypool type of ceiling, just raw, but he's not as raw as Samus Reyes. Remember, Samus Reyes didn't even know what cover 2 meant like months before we got him. Like he had no knowledge of football. At least Armani Rogers was a quarterback his entire life. So at least he's smart. He knows a lot of the nuances. He just needs to improve his catching, his route running, and his blocking, and I think we'll be perfectly fine. I think he has the potential to be probably one of our best players from our draft class, even though he wasn't drafted.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a lot of intriguing guys. I forgot what his first name is. Is it like Kelvin Hodges or something? Calvin, I don't know. He's 6'8". I mean,
Yeah.
he's got some potential for sure as well. So, I like the strategy of signing so many undrafted free agents because
Yes.
like it's the good thing is stack your, because you got 13 guys I think they got around 15 guys, right? So a couple of those guys will make the roster and maybe they'll be contributors. Like, I mean, we've had some contributors, undrafted guys, Jarrett Patterson, Steven Sims. Was Cam Sims undrafted? I don't know. He was probably undrafted as
I
well.
believe so. Yes, I
So
think so.
like a lot of undrafted guys. And then you think about it, like honestly, you look at let's say 2 to 3 guys make the practice squad, then you got 12 guys remaining, not practice squad, 2 to 3 guys make the regular roster, 53-man roster. There's going to be like 10 or 12 guys that you're going to have, and maybe like 8 of those guys go in the practice squad if they don't get snatched up. So then you have instead of having like now with the new practice squad rules, you can really have anyone there. Instead of having like third, fourth year guys that really don't have much potential, you got like 8, 9 guys that have some potential that eventually could be developed into backups or maybe even starters, and you can stash them away on the practice squad, and maybe eventually with some injuries during the season, you can call them up and have them, stay safe on the regular, roster. So I like the strategy of doing that. So now on to the schedule. So schedule comes out Thursday. More and more things are going to come out in the next, 24 to 48 hours. So we'll probably know a lot of the games by the time it officially gets released. But what do you kind of want to see, like any like matchup week 1, and then kind of what do you not want to see?
So as long as we play home for week 1, I'm happy. Do a whole ceremony, unveiling the new name, the new logo, new jerseys. The new helmets are probably the thing I'm most excited about as far as the uniforms go. I mean, even the players love the helmets more than the rest of the jerseys. That's just the thing. I want when Carson Wentz plays the Eagles first, I would prefer for it to be in Philadelphia. I think that would just be more magical to see if he gets booed, if he gets hoorayed, all of that, rather than him playing in Maryland first against the Eagles, and then the second time is in Philadelphia. It won't have the same big impact. And then it's a rumor that we do have a Thanksgiving game. So if we do, I'd prefer if it's not the 12:30 one, because that's just the one that's kind of hard to get to. Nobody's usually eating around that time anyway. It's just kind of an early game. So yeah, those are probably some of my, and I would prefer, since we have to play Cleveland, I prefer to play them earlier, just in case Deshaun Watson may end up getting suspended. I don't want to play the Cleveland Browns later in the season. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I do kind of want to play. What half of me wants to play people at their best to see where we truly are. But if it gets to the point that we're like a game or two away from the playoffs, you are better off not playing Deshaun Watson with the Cleveland Browns. You're better off going against they played for the Colts and the Dolphins just last year. Jacoby Brissett. Still a good quarterback, but definitely not Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I kind of agree with everything you said there, especially with the Browns point. Like, he'll probably get suspended, but who knows at this point? It's like kind of close, or it's kind of close. Like, he probably needs to happen soon, but, just for the Browns to know what they're dealing with this season. But yeah, I mean, you got to get the Browns early. Like, that would be a huge bonus. Like, there's probably like a 50-60% chance he gets suspended. So that'll help you out because I think without Deshaun Watson, like, we have a solid chance of winning. With, though, they're going to be favored by a decent amount. And then I don't want to see division games at the end. Like, I don't want to see 5 division games like last year. Like, I'm fine with 3 of the last 4, something like that. But 5 in a row, like, we got screwed.
That wasn't cool.
Exactly. And the thing, of course, what happens is we get hit with COVID and all the injuries right when it's happening. Like, that just, of course it happened like that. And then I'd like to play the Giants week 1. I mean, get an hopefully easy win out of the way, something like that. Or even like the Eagles would be fine. I think we're gonna get a primetime game with the Eagles this year. That seems like a Monday night game. Like I feel like we'll get a Monday night game with the Eagles, just returning to Philly. That'll probably happen with Carson Wentz. But yeah, I mean, I don't really care really about the schedule that much. I mean, for me, it'll just be nice to see everything on paper so we know, when we're playing who, but it really doesn't affect the win total that much at all, unless it's like what happened last year where we get screwed, where we have 5 division games at the end.
And then, of course, the bye week we all care about when hopefully it's somewhere in the middle, not like week 4. Was that like 2 years in a row we had like week 4 bye weeks? That was really bad. I think that definitely contributed to how hurt we were at the end of seasons as well. But yeah, man, I think the bye week is the most important thing, but everything else is preferences for sure.
Yep. Okay. This is so off topic, but I'm going to be putting out a tweet and I want you guys to show love because I'm going to be this guy is saying, this Cowboys YouTuber saying that CeeDee Lamb undoubtedly is the best receiver in the NFC East. And that to me, like you can, I don't agree with saying CeeDee Lamb is the best receiver in the NFC East. But, I think you can make the case he's the best receiver, but you can't say undoubtedly he is the best receiver in the NFC. Like there's just no merit to that at all. Like, and what I'm gonna tweet, I'm literally gonna be saying is you put CeeDee Lamb with Taylor Heineke last year and Terry McLaurin with Dak Prescott. It's like 1,300 yards for Terry and like 900 for CeeDee. Like it's just not even close, in my opinion. I think like CeeDee might be a little bit more talented, but I'll take Terry 100% of the time over CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope it's obvious. And I'm a huge CeeDee Lamb fan, especially coming out of college. I wanted to take him in the first round of that draft, regardless of need. I just thought he was just that good of a receiver. But over Terry McLaurin is, that cool. I just can't see it. Maybe you can argue stats this next upcoming year because he's going to be the number one clearly, and then with other guys a little bit hurt like Michael Gallup, maybe, and Dak Prescott. They're a pretty pass heavy team, whereas we're going to be probably, even with Carson Wentz, we're still going to be pretty run heavy. So, and then we also have like multiple receiving tight ends, and so Terry McLaurin's definitely taken from a larger group of people, splitting the pie with a larger group of people. But if we're just talking about the same guy in the same scenario being thrown to by the same quarterback, I think it's obvious that Terry McLaurin's better, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think if I had to give my ranking, I would go Terry 1 and then AJ 2 probably, and then CeeDee 3. Yeah. Like AJ, in my opinion, is like the most gifted out of the 3, but like injuries and then I don't know. Wait. What did I just see in the comments? Terry's got AB vibes. Oh, okay. Okay, never mind. I thought you said Terry's got AB vibes like with the, or I don't know. I thought you were saying like he has the same attitude as AB. I was like, what? Yeah. He's amazing. Terry's amazing. That's why I have him as the best receiver in the NFC East just because of the consistency with bad QBs, pretty healthy, doesn't really have like drop. Like if you really watch AJ Brown and this is as someone who like had him in fantasy for like 2 years, like man, he drops so many passes. Like there's a lot of times where he just drops easy passes in big time moments. And he's hurt all the time. Not consistent at all. Like he'll have one game where he has like 8 catches, 140 yards, and then the next game he'll have 2 catches, 20 yards. And here's the thing too. He had a solid QB. Again, not amazing QB, but I'll take Ryan Tannehill over Taylor Heineke every day of the week because he actually can make NFL throws. He was a first-round QB. And also, when you play with Derrick Henry on your team, they stack the box. They have 7 guys on the D-line every single play. So you're going to have a lot less attention on you. You're going to have all the attention on Derrick Henry. And, it's going to be a lot more space opened up for A.J. Brown. And, that still might be a little bit the case in Philly just because of how much they run with Jalen Hurts. But they don't pass the ball that much. So I don't see, like, Brown getting an insane amount of production this year. Like, I really don't. But I really like AJ Brown though.
Yeah, I would say I personally would edge Terry over AJ Brown for the reasons you stated, most notably the injuries for me. But I think the gap between Terry and AJ Brown is way smaller than the gap from those two to CD. I would definitely say CD is the third best receiver in the division right now, but I think there's definitely a bigger gap between CD and the other two guys than between the two guys at Terry McLaurin and AJ Brown for sure.
Yep, I agree. So I think that is gonna do it for today's stream. Really appreciate you coming on, Rico. Of course, guys, make sure you guys check him out. Great content creator. I know you guys are already subscribed, but he made a scheduled video today. Has been posting free agency stuff, draft stuff, and I'm sure he's gonna be doing some draft breakdowns the next few months as well. And Lefty, we talked about Bradbury probably around 20 minutes ago. I think we both we're kind of in the middle on it. We like the player, don't know if the fit is here with, kind of the amount of outside cornerbacks we have. And I don't know if we're going to pay the money. So we'll see. Appreciate coming on, Rico. Thanks for coming, Peter,
Thanks for
Lefty,
having me.
Raymond, Craig, DeAndre, Justin, all you guys. Appreciate you guys for coming through. And yeah, man, tomorrow, don't know what content I'm posting. I'll have schedule videos on Thursday. What you posting? Anything to plug in the next few days?
I'm just working on draft content. I'm planning on probably doing like a 90-man roster breakdown as of what we got going on right now, just to take a look at how good we are in certain positions and how bad we are, most notably linebackers. So yeah, I'm probably just gonna do like a little. It's not even necessarily gonna be a projection. It's really just gonna be what we currently have on roster. So, and I'm just gonna break that down. So that's more than likely tomorrow, as in Wednesday for sure.
Yep. All right, man. Thanks for coming on, and peace, guys.